such an exciting match because we were talking yesterday which team could take a map off of SRG, who's going to make them sweat. In my opinion, YFPX is up there. I think this could be an appetizer for the grand final itself. Third place at kickoff, YFPX beating huge teams like FlyQuest, like Wadada. This has to be the team that challenges the GOATs.
And now you're going in a storyline, if you're just following GC into the top 8 in North America right now, that's a very similar storyline to SRG versus Catface yesterday. It seems as though a lot of teams like to choose Ascent against SRG because that potentially could be one, or the quote-unquote weakest map of SRG, or two, the one where they could actually build that confidence just like Catface did before. So same composition coming out from the side of YFPX, starting on the attack side with a heavy lean towards B. But at the very beginning, you're starting to see that they're really trying to fight for mid control. Already pinging, watch out for the catwalk, watch out for M2, where Pizza already has 2 players of SRG. So get ready for an early fight.
Now to figure out also where those Sentinels are, and just to be playing mid is such a risk. Crossfire, you got Paranoia, you got a Flash, a lot of util from SRG to be able to fight back through this. Already some action, some contact. Your teleport's out. Good luck, Mel. It's all up to you. But actually, YFPX are not even going to go through market, so there's always a chance for Mel to backstab, but YFPX not going to slow down, making progress to the site. And there's not going to be any tripwires to worry about, and this jet has to go through an obstacle course, and there's the backstab from SRG coming from that market side, and YFPX get tripped up over their laces, having a game plan, but that's about to be squashed. It's just Corrupt against the army of Shopify Rebellion Gold.
Great preparation coming out from Shopify Rebellion Gold too. Very slow starts that they had versus Catface yesterday, losing both pistol rounds on Ascent. But this time around, you're starting to see really the beauty and the strength of having the Yori in your composition. How quick they were to rotate Dodo out to help on the tree side once you had YFP thinking that they create this ruse and rotate from the mid to catwalk repositioning. But they met up with 3 players already there from SRG, and they were in for a rude awakening to kick things off. So unfortunately, a slow start for YFP. They really want to focus a lot of players towards the B side just to try to control some orbs, where Noya is looking to fight close range.
And Noya can have some assist here. You got 2 shock bolts for the Seraph. They wanted to push this back, but it's the judge and the executioner from Noya. And you just dismantle this, and this was already a flawless pistol. And before I curse, this could even be a flawless anti-eco. Corrupt again, the lone wolf for YFPX.
Just trying to go for a spike too. No point in trying to save your weapons. It's only 1,000 credits if you survive, and you're only with the classic. You're not going to be able to give too much. So the best thing you do is hopefully get this pick onto Noya. But it is Sarah that's going to peek anyways. An easy anti-eco, as you just mentioned here, Jen. But not needless to say, you're seeing 2 rounds for YFP that they had a game plan as soon as the barrier came up that was immediately snuffed out here by SRG. So this head-to-head battle that Ash was mentioning between the IGLs and Corrupt and Mel is currently leading on the side of SRG, as they've had correct reads, correct positioning too, to just not even allow YFP to get even space control, orb control, or any kills. There's still 0 kills on the board on the side of YFP. Well, the reason why I'm saying that is because that economy is going to stay low. So even if they're losing players in a process in their gun round against the bonus, where you could still have great damage done with the Outlaw on the side of Donut, YFP is still not out of the frying pan yet in terms of building up a good econ this round.
Just off this turret being active, you know the Killjoy has to be in the vicinity, and there's a Yori teleporting out. But that's that sense of security that YFPX believed a little too hard in pistol, and then Mel came around and had a backstab. So you've already sussed out that from the last round, Noya likes to play B. You have the barrier over at B. Both Sentinels left side of the map. YFPX now with mid could cross over to A. Now getting through tree, it was a little too quiet over in the pistol round. So YFPX still trying to determine what is the setup of SRG. Now just waiting out the barrier. So far,
still very good bait and switch coming out here on Catwalk. So showing yourself for the KO at the very beginning towards the B side, like, well, it's not the KG lurking. So they're stacking a lot of players towards that B site. Then you have Corrupt moving towards tree that gets contact onto Mel, and you're forced to rotate out. But he waited a little bit too long. Now going for the hit towards the B site, there's still 3 players of SRG to deal against for YFPX.
Sonic Sensor did limit, but not stop Zoriental, who's just kind of waiting for SRG to peek past that smoke. 2 at the very back, too. So Zoriental's gonna have these members, these judges still hurt, but YFPX kept their distance. Trade's not too bad. 12 seconds left, and YFPX had the site planted, but no smokes will be obscuring SRG. You got the Outlaw, you got the Bulldog, you got Noya and Dodonut, the new star that joins SRG. Brings a lot of firepower now through main.
Last player standing.
Oh, Melia needed to hit her 1 tap. She is low and even gets the 3rd one.
Nice shots out of Melia. Yeah, I mean, it did contact, and I thought it was going to be a headshot from the way that Melia crouched into that shot, but somehow it ended up being a body shot. Thankfully, he went for full shields, knowing that Dodonut was going to go for the Outlaw and keep the Outlaw in the bonus round. And that's just unfortunate because you had 3 separate occasions there where Dodonut could have gotten a pick. Twice onto Nora, aka Scary Shark, and that one there onto Melia, which would have maybe given a chance here for SRG to have a better control on their bonus round. But now they stop the bleeding here for YFPX. They score some kills on the scoreboard. They have practically a lot of econ that we said was going to be very difficult to work with, as now you're trying to find a timing from Noya.
Noya likes to be aggressive here. Who's going to stop her? Oriental with the trade. YFPX need to make progress. They have SRG on the back foot. You got the flash shot. YFPX going to react to the market push. And Alexis marches on past the smoke, past the defenses of YFPX. Gets 3 that round with the help of Sarah. Nice defense on B.
Yeah, and if anything, also from Dodonut on the way that she utilized that utility to allow all of those assists to come out from Alexis. If it wasn't for the early wallbang that kind of pressures Oriental as they're dashing into the site, they're like, oh crap, I'm getting shot at. Anybody's going to flood out at this moment, shoots the clone, gets blinded, so Dodonut throws an insta-flash, keeps Zoriental blinded, and Alexis just mows in, cleans up here on aisle B site, and then 3 players fall down instantly there for YFP. So now you're not giving any chance for YFP to really build any type of momentum, but because they won a very strong round against the bonus of SRG previously, they still have a decent buy going to this one, but they have to convert this now, if not the ego is going to happen.
I think if YFPX overstay their welcome at Boathouse, they are going to get surrounded. So they are managing to try and punish Noya, who likes to peek early in main. But now we're going to see kind of what happens at A. Dodonut likes to go for first picks, likes to teleport out, and YFPX have to re-clear. Where did that Yoru go?
Yeah, and that's just some mid-control and missing with Outlaws, but landing shots on the Vandal long range is quite nice. And a slight mistake happening here. Again, it's Scary Shark falling where against the Outlaw stayed alive for a bit, but now you're going to have to start being a little bit cleaner on how you want to try to gain the information of where, you know, the first areas of SRG are trying to take control of on the defensive side. And instead of just doing for jump peaks, body peaks, and aim duels, you are playing double initiator. You have an opportunity to snuff out the information a little bit earlier than your own body. Unfortunately there, it looks like they're going to have to regroup and go for a Hail Mary dive into the B site where all of Noya's utility is still
30 seconds
quite
left.
up and healthy.
And if they just go right to the site, and maybe these trips won't be too bad, but it's kind of the same dash play from Zoriental, this time not as effective as YFPX start their infiltration, and Sarah continues to be a nuisance. She's always good for 1. We'll be at the very back of the site for 1 second. Sarah may just prevent them from planting, and there just goes the whole round.
Util's too good there. I mean, yes, the first shot guard from Misu was perfect to allow the dash of Zoriental to get into the B site, but when the camera's still up, spotting Zoriental, getting that ping, you have a player playing all the way towards backside. There was a lineup too for a grab net to land right at the top of lane to really not allow YFPX to get a surprise attack onto the B site when Noya popped the neural theft. And yeah, lots of dead fish there as we just saw in that shot.
We casted Sarah yesterday, and she was the MVP.
Farming, yep.
And she's farming it again on the same map 1. Fiery start out of that initiator.
Yeah.
And this is such a well-rounded roster that it's hard to pick which one you want to highlight, but Sarah back-to-back is great.
On the VCT stage, I'm thinking about Trent. On the GC stage, I'm thinking about Sarah as a solo on this map of Ascent. Those 2 players are so good on the defensive side of Ascent.
So there is a barrier from Alexis after she got pinged by the Owl drone, and it's the Hunter Scurried. I guess some dancing. Great follow-up from Zoriental.
Wow.
You're finally seeing these gunfights won by YFPX when SRG are in a defensive position, but Mel He's going to snuff out Corrupt, but that's not even where the spike is going. Look at all the exploration Melia has been able to do. I like this watch on the market side. They already sort of cleared the back site, so this should be a good plan.
Yeah, the good news and bad news is that they sold the not necessarily sold the fake, but because you had so much ground gained by Melia's lurk, it's an easy and free plant on the B site. The bad news, though, is that whatever they were trying to create and were able to create in terms of opening towards the A site didn't render into any weapons being able to get picked up here by YFPX on their eco. So they have to hold together with Sheris against a double rotate. This is all going to get heard, but even if it gets heard, it's still Sheris versus 2 Phantoms, and you're playing to perfection for SRG to stay as a group, to utilize the weapons to your advantage.
We have Recon too. But now knowing they just don't have time to go for the scouting, needs to have a really lucky flick, and it's Melia working with her in both house, but Mel slipped past her defenses. This is a thrifty opportunity for YFPX, and timer's running out. Mel is gonna try to get it to halfway, and YFPX have finally humbled SRG.
That was looking so good until you kept the patience for YFP to not overswing. One person was beating with the Sherry shots, but the second one being Melia tucked inside the shed and not swing out to overextend herself to try to get the pick. Right over here. That kill onto Sarah was everything because they stayed as a group, and then once you realize for SRG that you're pressed on time, a mistake is bound to happen. And thanks to that, all that util coming out from Misu on that 2 versus 2 was beautiful for YFP to convert a thrifty round. And that's going to have to hurt in the economy of SRG. They have a pretty decent buy. It's a full gun round. The op is back out with an Odin this time around from Sarah. But overall, this is going to be a save for either team that loses this round. So this is a huge swing round in this round number 7.
The barrier almost hits Jet in the noggin. If it's not that, it's a bullet. Zoriental down for the count, while the rest of YFPX have to pick up the pieces. There's Alexis on the background. She's so well protected, and I guess she's exposed herself, and YFPX hunter down. Mel's a continuous nuisance from the glass side, and YFPX are aware of this even from back into the pistol round. And Noya continues to let it rain. YFPX even with thrifty just couldn't carry this momentum into this rifle round. It's Melia in a 1 versus 4, and then the silver lining, she's got this white planet. Catches Mel trying to throw out some kill. No more. Noya, that tree staggering in. Noya keeps calm.
And thankfully, finally, somebody's decide to step through to have the better timing. It wasn't cleanest timing for that trade towards the end there from Noya that got that pick, but it should have been way cleaner in a 4 versus 1. At some point, it looked very doable there. More YFP to clutch that out. And those pings, silver linings, what helped SRG to propulse the retake into this moment where Melia almost clutched it.
No more.
Great movement in isolation there. And that's something that was highlighted on the desk for YFP's side. Playing as a Sentinel, playing quite well and understanding it too, where the timings would be, and something to look out for here for the rest of this game on the side of YFPX if you're hoping for their comeback, hoping for the upset against Shopify Rebellion.
YFPX are keeping these rounds close and even clutching every once in a while without their duelist being the one that is muscling all these kills. So YFPX not giving up until it's over. Great first blood out of Melia. They got one thrifty. Could they even do it again? Now there's a lot of sonic sensors and a barrier to get through tree. And YFPX knows a big threat on the flank is these players on defense around the tree area. So YFPX can take out this util, drone up, see what's in market, force a teleport out of Donut. We'll see what's next.
And that util's still up. Right now, similar storyline of before, YFP's just waiting for the wall to dissipate. As soon as it's about to drop, oh, I love it. The net's getting ready. As soon as some noise is being heard. I mean, we are kind of nerdy playing this game.
Annihilation. Cocoon, but it's also good protection. Someone like Alexis at the back. The Annihilation is confirmed, and it's the last one left. It's a whole squad of SRG also not staggering in, not going for 1v1, so really securing that round.
And you have to give the props to the conversation of what's happening inside the map here for SRG, despite them being in a 4 versus 5 scenario, losing Noya in the very beginning. At that mid-round, when they hear the drone coming out from Donut and she TPs away, the counter drone from Sarah goes out into the B main. So once you realize that there's still no pressure on that B side, that it has to be leaning towards A. So that's why Alexis was propped up with all of her util. Stall from the graph net, Annihilation to grab one as well, allowing Donut to reposition to even get an op kill. So great calmness being shown by the side of SRG on the anti-eco.
You should run.
Melia continues to open up these rounds, set up YFPX for success. I want to see a bigger impact from Scary Shark. Hasn't registered any assists, so these pop flashes, these KO knives, can you suppress? Can you do anything? Well, at least playing for now is the lockdown. You've teleported your Omen into the back site, so YFPX have the space, but SRG are lurking around the other side of smokes, either waiting for these to go down or swinging at the opportune time. Now nothing obscures SRG, and wait, this fight from Scary Shark got called upon her. Roll call has been heard, and YFPX starting to take angles around SRG. And look, Scary Shark is about to come up from behind Mel, but she's gonna hear it this time. Mel stays calm, and that's what we love about SRG: composure and consistency. But the teamwork from YFPX, the barrel gets spotted from Zoriental.
No escape.
Instead of staying within the site, now 2 within the chaos. It's corrupt. That wins it.
Kind of wish you just waited that extra 2 seconds because you know the smoke was going to dissipate. The sixth sense was there from both of the players of Mel and Alexis that there has to be somebody or behind the smoke or inside the smoke. And it was played to perfection on Mel's flank. She smoked the turret on the side of Melia, got the backstab kill. Scary Shark made way too much noise to try to just keep, Mel at bay. But so many mistakes came through here from YFPX on a post plant, and they looked very doable on a 2 versus 4 until finally we decide to pressure a little bit too quickly on that 2 versus 2 once again for SRG inside that smoke, and they both get punished. Even if the net caught both of them inside that smoke, there was no opportunity to trade.
Money's getting low for SRG, but they got the dimensional drift, and now Donut doesn't have to teleport out. She can get in YFPX's face, but first, what is the first move? Where are the pawns being placed from YFPX? What is your opening play? Now, it's the paranoia that is going to limit YFPX. They've really tried to pressure Tree time and time again. That's being recognized from SRG. They're taking a more forward position and staying, instead of being back at glass. Great shock bolt gets Mel down to half. But it's still a crossfire. Good setup from SRG. That is going to be a threat as soon as YFPX do charge in. You have one flash from Scary Shark, and it's just going to be the crash with the pistol. And Donut doesn't get the teleport out. The timing. Zoriental had one chance, and she took it.
No surprises.
YFPX still knocking at the door. Alexis at the back. Her back's against the wall, but she bites even harder, and we're in a very familiar 2 versus 2. Scary Shark on her last leg. Alexis is injured, but SRG will stay at A. YFPX going through market. We'll see if they can spot the rotations of SRG from that right side of the map, but it should be a plant soon.
Yeah, even getting the plant will allow Scary Shark to get the ult available. So once this turret gets broken down, you know they're rotating from that spawn. They have Nanoswarm to delay even more. And yeah, I'm down for this. Pop that ult right away, the null command. Even if it pings and gives you position away, you're not allowing a recon dart, the owl drone, to re-get the information here from the side of Sarah. And Alexis can't really move in with the net either.
I cannot use that. Take flight.
And suppression is over. So you have a little bit more time to play with compared to that last 2 versus 2. But this market side from Melia does important strikes through both. SRG thought they'd be within the site, and Melia says no.
The first half of every of these rounds are always on the side of SRG. Macro-wise, when it comes down to the chess game between these two teams, won by the protocols on the side of SRG. But when it comes down to 2 versus 2, and the micro calls, the mid-round rotations, and the positioning, it's all on the side of YFPX. If it stayed clean and you're a little bit on point and on par on how you want to play these 2 versus 2 scenarios for SRG, this probably should have been like an 8-2 so far. But YFPX has so much fight, and they finally broke the economy on the side of Shopfire Building Gold, forces them to play an eco, forces Mel to play a Bucky close range here to take control of the A side, which is great. This is a great start here on this side. I would probably start rotating out Donut to try to support more towards like Tree or try to go back towards middle. They're just going to wait here. It's up to YFPX to find here what the positioning of SRG could be. But I like that they're staying as a pack on their side so they could trade as soon as possible.
Yeah, Donut hasn't shown her presence around mid as she usually does, so YFPX Don't have their knife out from Scary Shark yet, so it's going to be 2 flashes. But how deep do you want to throw those? Are you expecting SRG to be this forward on stage? You know they're going to be desperate. Paranoia from Corrupt and just teleports on the other side. And this obviously YFPX know there's a threat closer range than expected. Donut will be around the corner. And this drone is going to spot them out, and the door will be closed. No one is home, and Alexis is stuffed out, staying in that same position. YFPX are adapting and shooting as best as they can, but Sarah in a 1 versus 2, it is not impossible. She's been the GOAT before, and she's had an amazing Ascent so far, but YFPX will pivot towards B.
The good thing is that she can pick up a weapon on top of that. Scary Shark, the longest route that she's taking towards the B side for the plant does give a chance here for Sarah to really close that gap as soon as the plant goes down. So yeah, it's going to be planted at an awkward spot because it took so much time for them to move across for the plant, but then Melia gets the pick from the switch right away, not giving a chance for Sarah to go for that flank up on middle.
And the desk talked about Melia's impact against FlyQuest as a top fragger and just in the post. She knows exactly what to watch and where SRG are going to come from, whether it's keeping her turret in markets, watching the backside, and listening and trusting her teammate. And that's what's really great about YFPX. They've built this roster for a reason. They bring in new players like Zoriento, who really started competing this year. Corrupt and Melia are a strong core, even back from the Solstice days. And we kind of forgot to mention Misu, who subbed in for Shopify Rebellion, I believe, last stage. So maybe there's some familiarity of Misu knowing the weaknesses or knowing how they like to run things. And that's going to be important to communicate in this timeout.
Yeah, definitely. SRG after this timeout, it has to be a conversation from FEs here to just tell the girls to really be more on point in these mid rounds. Especially now when you're seeing these over rotates happen and they're really strong on anchoring and trading on those fights towards the A side or B. It doesn't even matter what side they fight on, but the over rotates that they have gives up so much on the other side of the site. I would probably like to start seeing maybe SRG keeping one player behind on one of those sites to really go for that one-on-one against Melia. And we've seen a lot of that between Melia and Noya at the beginning of these rounds.
Nice.
But you do need to find somebody to just stop the lurk of Melia to give a chance for SRG to have a much cleaner mid-round on the defensive side here of Ascent.
There's a ton of ultimates, and this is the last round of the half. You got a drone out from B main, the defense. And it's Dodona who usually likes to play the market side, and now she's going to be stepping up with the op. And YFPX have chilled out from the other side of the turret, and SRG have pinged that before, but don't want to push their luck. They don't really like to go towards that YFPX spawn. They're not that crazy.
And this is a standard play here. There's no overextension from Dodona. You just want to make sure that you watch a tight angle. You're not going to get spotted by the turret. So that keeps everybody at bay. You have information from the camera watching mid. You're playing very passively towards that spawn, and you're just trying to react here right after on where that push is coming from. So that push and pull won't mean too much, because there's that easy kill.
YFPX getting antsy now that it's less than a minute. And of course, Misu just droned through tree and just got some of the trips down, maybe hearing some of the sonic sensors. So the Sentinels are very stacked on the right side of the map, but there's also some trips at B, and this hasn't hindered Zoriental too much. It's more just
30
heat
seconds
of the
left.
action of when everything breaks down. Once SRG take positions around you, they surround, they divide, they conquer, and YFPX have to rotate against them. Now the blades are out. The camera spots the Odin. Just hoses YFPX down, and there's dimensional drift as Dodonut looks to ping where YFPX are coming
10
from.
seconds left.
Misu concussed. Some low members from SRG side. 5 seconds left to plant, and YFPX are being put down like dogs, and it's SRG that takes the last round of the half.
And it's difficult to do, to try to come out of that smoke, and you've
Switching
already
sides.
lost Scary Shark in the very beginning. So you can't pop flash. That's your biggest flash that you have outside of Corrupt's flash, but they got a smoke here towards that side so they can move in. And then it becomes an easy 2K spray with the Odin outside for Sarah. Looked very doable at some point though, because with the time remaining right here, Melee could have lined up two almost at that spot and have another clutch scenario coming out here for YFP. So very labored fights coming out towards the mid-rounding. towards the mid-round, up to the end of the rounds on the side of SRG, but at least they still pull out on top, taking a lead by 2 in the second half. They get to play the attack side too, and YFP now playing on the defense, looking to get some early pressure down towards middle, because Zoriental has the Sheriff and is looking to move forward, and you'll have this recon coming out from Misu into tiles, or should decides to hold back on it.
The ping is going to force Zoriental back, but she is not revealed. This could be an important shot. She takes damage, dashes out. Up next, it'll be Scary Shark. Knife and 2 flashes. But this gives SRG mid-map control. There's a thing from YFPX through B main. A lot of pressure through the left side. And have the defense from YFPX push up to converge and coalesce into the middle. What a shock dart from Misu. As Donut was left stranded. But this leaves the B side open as YFPX... We're just trying to unite through mid, leaving now the site for SRG to plant.
Still very good, though, to take down Jodonut, because now it allows for the team to just regroup on the pulse plant and have a 5 versus 4 retake, and also keeping most, if not all, of SRG stuck within the site.
There's a lot of numbers to the top side, and man, Corrupt was trying to get into a position, have an alternate angle. I don't know if they had any util left, but this is YFPX pushing in off the knife being thrown. SRG staying within the site. Noya through main. Doesn't want to get pushed. Doesn't want to get one enemy remaining. She can, and SRG get proactive with it.
Looks like it's Mel and Sarah inside of that smoke, giving a little bit of a taste of YFP's own medicine when it lost that 2 versus 2. They heard the stomping grounds of the rotate out from the defensive side into B main just to try to control Noya. And they're the ones that pull out the pincer maneuver. But that, I love that initial kill. The way to control back to fight towards middle on the side of YFP. But just was not good enough here on a retake against SRG. And that's something actually that we were mentioning yesterday in this composition for SRG. The strong point of this comp where Alexis is not playing KO anymore is just allowing her to get into the site to have all of this util. On top of that with Noya's Trip that was playing quite aggressively with the side of SRG to anchor up and hold out the B site. Allows for them to play maybe within sites, but still with strongholds that allows for them to get kill trips, walls to delay, and get in better positions here to just fight as a team. So now YFPX have to start identifying that, and probably keeping Scary Shark alive is going to be a key component for those retakes. So the knife could be the first thing that annihilates out of that util.
Oh, the recon dealing SRG in main, but that's the clone, so YFPX are not going to bite down on this bait. Look how quick they are to rotate. It's a good read, but will they get there in time? To help Melia, to help Corrupt. And Melia, I gotta see these first blood stats once we go back to the desk. She's been incredible. Quickly, though, traded by Noya as the spike now pivots back to the other side. YFPX are getting their steps in, that's for sure.
Should be Freelo at least to get into the site for the plant. But I'm not going to discount yet YFPX not being able to convert this round because there is still 1 Sheriff available, so Zoriental goes for
30 seconds left.
That weapon to try to get some picks here, but it's Noya that continues to be a pain. A thorn here on the side of YFPX.
Listen for that Noya is closer on boats. Will be probably playing from main. YFPX, if they would have been able to keep up with those rotations, because SRG... The chess match, them being able to play a post plan to have 1 enemy to push with pistol. With the ace! The iBUYPOWER ace from our president. Man, she's good.
Sign her up for another term. Great lurk thing going into the B side to open it up here for the side of SRG. This was an anti-eco, but it was just one person playing like a pistol, like it was a pistol round. And look at that. The right place, counting that door becoming red, counting the reload, jumping through, getting that pick, isolating all of these fights. And Noya, again, has been one of those players in GC since probably the tail end of last year that really started putting up consistent numbers as a Sentinel player, and definitely a strong point in terms of firepower for the side of SRG.
Vesk were right about highlighting these IGLs and also just the supportive cast around a duelist and how they've been able to really carry their team's success. Now SRG the front, Oriental hoping to play bodyguard, but currently netted.
I know exactly.
Flash trying to find the right timing and not flash your own teammate, of course. Oh, flash twice, picking up and clone. It's Noya coming to the tree and wait, Scary Shark. Woo! underwater,
player
2
standing.
versus 2, and this is where usually YFPX been able to win those, but Donut's involved and subtracts YFPX from the equation.
This is where it starts getting
Move in
dangerous
after
too when
us,
Donut is also warming up. Very clean, not given a chance here for YP to even react when they actually spot players, when they actually spot Donut into the duel. Look how it starts with all that util coming through. No escape possible there for Oriental. A nice attempt from Scary Shark, but
player
this round
standing.
was huge here for Donut. Because that's the bonus round for SRG that they convert. They break the econ once again for YFPX, and it might be similar stories again now, Lemon Kiwi. A strong start here for a team that's looking to upset SRG. But as soon as they find their footing and they play the second half, you're now playing any game on super hard mode for the side of YFPX. But as I say that, let's say SRG wants to do the same thing. She's like ADSing, look at her team. It's like, guys, you didn't see this.
I was so confused. It's like, which strat is this, man?
Yeah, no, that's
looking at you.
a hey, let's have some fun, laugh a bit, and then okay, let's recompose now and have serious thoughts of drilling back into the B side. You know you're playing against an anti-eco anyways, but with that stinger coming out first though, that will also give a tell for SRG that they probably don't want to start pushing as quickly as they want to, so just be more meticulous here on your scaling towards this B site.
And Corrupt watching mid, like, they're going to spawn any rotations if SRG pivot. And that's been what's tricky about playing against SRG is reading where they finish, where they end up at in the round, because they like to pivot and go around. YFPX, though, their good rounds have been taking advantage of the map control given to them, trying to get behind SRG.
Ooh.
But how much time is that going to take to develop? SRG are starting their march. There's the Marshall making their presence known. Corrupt assisting. Now SRG have an opening and right at the front. And now just swings into it. Another thrifty for YFPX.
GC Sheriff. And also, I was going to say, thankfully, from Alexis, you know, the changes that came from the deadlock allows for you to get a draft in for free in like 35, 40 seconds later. That said, though, it wasn't enough time here because as the more they waited to try to execute towards this B side, the more that you saw that YFP had so many players rotated on that mid side into B. Very difficult for SRG to take over, and especially when Melia continues to shoot the way that she's doing so far with the Sheriff. Keeps now YFP in the game, stops that bleeding here, and stops the momentum that SRG has been building in the second half. Now we're back into a regular story of the second half. Because you just got thrifty here for SRG. The economy is pretty much the same now on both sides, and an opportunity rather for YFPX to really close that gap if they're able to convert this round here, because SRG may be on a half buy unless they go for a plant, but they could also go for a very lower buy that gives YFP the opportunity to really come back.
Yeah, SRG could have had first blood even on Scary Shark. There's sort of some aggression from the defense. Mel teleported to try and get orb. She had Paranoia. She had Alexis on top of the wall. But YFPX have tried to minimize as much risk as possible. They know they are at arm's reach of SRG, and not a lot of teams can say that. I'm glad you brought up the momentum from SRG, because we casted them yesterday on Ascent. It was like 5-round win streak flood. It was so rich. And economy is something you have to watch out for. There's some people on SRG that are at zeros, so now it's a dimensional drift, though. A lot of good information for Donut. Set up at the back, tries to watch the back sight of YFPX and how they come in. 30 seconds left. That's something you have to worry about. It's over on market as Oriental had her first pick. As the smoke start to dissipate, YFPX can move in. But it's that SRG player in B main that you have to worry about. Noya got her ace from that position, and it's Mel that has to take the helm. But she got flanked in the past, so she wants to just be a little extra careful.
Recon and Annihilation is going to be the big thing to delay here on this side of SRG. They're not in a good spot for YFP to retake this side, especially with Zoriental with a knot. You're not giving too much opportunities for them to really flood back into the site, and already losing that first player at the switch after that recon dart. You're already seeing that YFP are just going to try to fall back and save the weapons into the next round and try to leverage the op into the next round. But Zoriental did get the surprise pick onto Noya from opposite to Broza right at middle. So SRG in the next round will have to expect and try to figure out and snuff out what this op could be. But there's still a good chance for this for YFP to still get and score first blood, because you're playing against only a solo initiator on the side of Shopify.
And choosing to save here, these are difficult decisions, and we didn't see as much as that in the last series, but You just need everything you can get. It's a marathon, not a
Exactly.
sprint. But this is getting SRG to the last 2 rounds they need to take map 1 in a best of 3. So YFPX have to play very flawless from here on out, especially get mileage out of this op. It's the whole reason you're saving. Zoriental will be over in A and also in mid, cutting off a lot of routes of SRG, potentially, as they all encroach towards A main. And it is Scary Shark that is going to try and stop this, but with just a Sheriff, but potentially a Null command, try and stop SRG from being as deadly on the post plan as before.
Yeah, and that smoke really stopped SRG to really try to go for the full pop execute, especially when Noya stayed towards this B side and hasn't hurt anything yet. So we're now moving into the mid round. What can we get in terms of information? You still have this drone available. There you go. They're going to start droning at that minute mark just to try to see if Zoriental is back at Sabrosa with the op again. Clear as that spot. And now he could just start isolating, taking control of middle and pivot in the last second. And Zoriental just waiting for that timing. We were missing that smoke on Catwalk.
Yeah, and Zoriental is still there, but SRG, they said before, not going to fall for the clone yet. SRG now move towards market. Hunter's Fury from the very back of the site is going to create a bit of an obstacle course, and SRG are away from their spike carrier, and Zoriental and the rest of YFPX are left with SRG. A must-win round for the defense, and it's just Alexis against the 4 of the defense. And they're not going to waste any time, but one at a time. YFPX. Alexis! She gets 3 for the road. That's still important with where the creds are at, Vans.
Exactly. I mean, they win this round. It's 3,000 credits. Scary Shark's only going to be at 3,000. So props on Sarah, or sorry, on Alexis. That's done so much damage on that 1v4. Even almost converted that clutch. There was like, what, 30 HP remaining out there on that last player remaining on the side of YFPX. Look at the positioning once we get there. Tried the pop flash. That's understandable that Melia squeezed through that one. But look at that. Even when they jumped across, still lands 2 kills. But thankfully, they're able to stay alive in this round. And you talked about it. This is a marathon, not a sprint. But your opponents are definitely about to cross that finish line. So you do definitely have to start picking up the pace here on the side of YFPX. And they are with a shark attack down towards B main.
Hey, Zoriental, I love to see the confidence. She's found the gaps in SRG before, but it's Dodonut with first blood. Zoriental can always respond, though. Her presence in mid is going to cause problem. This SRG, though, they could just commit to A. There is going to be some Sentinel util that is going to delay things as a teleport from the defense corrupt with the judge. Front door!
No way.
Never! But the Hunter's Fury is going to find corrupt eventually. The judge will be silenced. And SRG don't feel so safe. The spike is not going to be planted until this door closes. You have the Yoru, you have Dodonut watching heaven. The plant has to go down now, but the door has been broken down. That window is closing. More delay from this Killjoy. Zoriental strikes through the clone yet again. And it's a 2 versus 3, trying to deny match point out of SRG as Zoriental waits for the shots, only knows where the one is. And after that, the second, needs assistance. Melia trades 1 versus 2, annihilation, kidnaps Melia, and SRG go to match point.
Alexis is playing a different game today. She's very good in her game sense and moving around the map. From that almost clutch on a 1 versus 4 for the iBUYPOWER clutch, but this time around is just the way that she moved around, avoiding the off shots in the wall bang at the switch as she hits it. Jumps across and places like even nets on the ground to try to delay. Sonic sensors too, gets the plant down for the team and grabs it for the 1v1 against Melia and annihilates her literally with the ult.
Literally.
And that really, now we were talking about a broken economy on the side of YFPX. The more that, you know, because of that bonus round that they lost, they had to have the cleanest of rounds as possible for the rounds they win here on the defensive side. If not in the long run, just like right here, your economy is going to get broken at a pivotal moment here of this first map. They have nothing to work with, but Melia has the Sheriff still, and they have 2 big retake ults to work with as well.
Yeah, and you got to get a lot of value out of that at the right time too. And it's YFPX. They're just going to try and play at the middle too, just so they're ready to rotate at a moment's notice. SRG being gifted this middle of the map. And it's Zoriental that has to be loud. And potentially one of the final times in this map. Especially not the best weaponry, as you said, from YFPX. But they can still do damage close range. As Dodonut sends the clone. YPX keep falling for it. There's the lockdown on prevention duty. SRG are flooding and looking for this lockdown. Is it smoked off? Melia's got to protect her own ultimate. Trying to shoot through the box with a SRG you have to reload. She's getting surrounded. Where is the help? 911. Melia. Has she done enough? SRG has evacuated the rest of YFPX, but the chemistry is there, and YFPX live on!
What a play coming out from YFPX. It's just the little things too. Melia went for the ult inside of that B site, and I'm pretty sure it was corrupt smoke to try to block it out and try to block too the lockdown, so you can't really spray it moving down there for the side of SRG. So it allows here, even for Melia, to just go for a fight to get the first pick, wait that time out, even delay even longer for that flood from SRG from lane and down towards that staircase. Allowing here YFPX to initiate, engage the ult from Scary Shard, not give too much for SRG to work with, and for them to win here the lower buy. Looks like SRG, they still want to close this round right away. A TP into the spawn and a split into the B site.
Mel, she's done this before, but found by YFPX, they're quick to rotate. And help is on the way towards B. And it's up to Melia once again. And she's got Misu. They have shot pulls. No time to use the drone, but they swing at the right time as SRG stagger, trip over their laces. They watch for those reinforcements. That's what cut off Mel in the first place. But the spike is down at the worst place. And you gotta walk into the sightlines of YFPX. And what a paranoia too from Corrupt. Seals the deal for that round.
Yeah. Lower buy that you have for SRG, and I respect the idea coming out here from Mel TPing towards that spawn, but I think she forgot to throw that smoke before she even repositioned on the other side of where she TP'd. Because I would understand you want to try to play that extra smoke as an obstacle for you to try to fight into the long-range spawn, cut the rotates with the Sheriff, and then hide inside that smoke. But instead, just peeked out, got picked off, and really the rest of the SRG was just stopped by Melia's Nanoswarm in the front of that B site. So now I think it comes down to the macro game out of this timeout for Shopify Rebellion here. They got to be a little bit cleaner on how they want to split towards these sites, because the last two was definitely snuffed out when it comes down to the chaos, because YFPX always has the right amount of players going into these fights to fight against SRG. So you're going to try to manipulate the map a little bit more here. You're looking at this round, could be a very simple one as well, to just try to get this orb for Dodonut and just go for the full exec. Utilize the dimensional drift to get that information, to get the players in on top of that. That would allow here Alexis to really have an easier time to throw her utility without the fear of getting shot down, because you found all that information behind the dimensional drift anyways. And they have had plenty of opportunities to take control of the extremities, because YFPX hasn't been doing that too much on their side. They've been doing it a lot of holds here towards middle more. But as I say that, they got 3 players getting ready to fight towards the A main control.
I'd like to see Misu fight for an orb too, because they're one away from the Hunter's Fury, but this opening round, if Noya can get a neural depth, if she can get a corpse, this will give such good information, and Mel takes a big risk, and YFPX holds the line, and even the knife thrown still flashes left. Thankfully, SRG, they're able to recover the spike, and there's already Noya clearing through mid, so it's not the worst case scenario, but this is not good for SRG. And you got Scary Shark holding over in glass, and she could support herself, was going to wait for Misu to make things easier, maybe with a recon or a drone. Things have really settled down.
Big thing here is the president, once again, a pick gets neural theft information for the team, or again, just ult inside the site here to see what could happen, but they realize now that it's a passive play for YFPX, that their YFPX are looking to play the retake. So they're just going to leverage this time, close that door, try to sell this fake, but there's still just so much utility out from Melia. Alarm bot's down towards middle, the turret's still watching towards B main. Alarm will get sounded, and they should be in a pretty decent position here to try to retake the site against SRG.
And there were some corpses for Noya to use in A main, but you just don't want to turn your back when you don't know what's in glass, you don't know what's in heaven.
30 seconds left.
Using a knife there, but they got a flash to get around and at the front. Dodonut tries to get proactive. Noya, her position isn't known. That's the only advantage she has to work with.
The spike.
Able to have the spike. 15 seconds left, though. She can't stay here forever. Her hand is going to be forced, and that's the window for YFPX to get into the site. No util for
Planted
Scary
the
Shark.
spike.
Recon is going to pick Noya. She's gone with her knives out. So YFPX are clawing their way back. This will get them to double digits.
Yeah, the idea around there, just to get the plant a little bit out in the open, is that she could pull her knife out and back up faster into the arches, so she could find cover towards that back. And unfortunately, it just bumps the wall as she falls back and gets pinged right away by the recon dart. Could have been a whole different story here if she actually made it through the back of that site, which has been primordial in her performances so far on this map. But it's YPX staying in the game, breaking the economy once again of SRG. And this might be a game that goes into the last round of regulation here. An opportunity now for YFPX to really have the strongest buys within the last 2 rounds of regulation if they can convert this one here.
And Corruptus had flashes of brilliance in that last round to huge paranoias to bring in that experience from challengers into play against GC's best Shopify Rebellion Gold. This is YFPX's map pick 2. And out of all of the maps, SRG have only dropped this one, and it was in Swiss and Donut. First blooded by Melia. She is on fire today. They're knocking at the door, though. The shotgun, it hurts. But Misu strikes harder. And the spike, it's down. And it's surrounded by YFPX. They have every angle watched. They're droning through mid. Noya could try and surprise, but wait a minute. These GC sheriffs are something else. Neural theft from Noya. She tried to wrap around, but she knows that YFPX are on their tail. She could have a surprise here, but the recon, Noya has to wait this out. Paranoia out from Mel to support Noya. It's not enough to dissuade YFPX from this spike. They stack together against Mel, the IGL, to try to bring victory to SRG. No suppression there. Flash out. Mel in safety. And this is a chess match. Mind games. She's not going to check this corner. She's not going to check it. Misu wins that for YFPX.
A nice try there, too, for that paranoia. After getting the neural theft out from Noya, playing around, ring around the rosies back towards that spawn. That paranoia hit on both. That was a free kill coming out from Noya. Maybe a doable round, but towards the end, it's still YFP that are so good on the pivots, on the rotates. You already saw from how they were positioning themselves here on the defensive round was to just leverage the Hunter's Fury no matter where you are. That's where you're seeing Misu currently playing really towards that spawn, back a tree. You're just trying to find information behind what Melia has around the 3 players playing as a group and then leverage the Hunter's Fury towards that spawn to support. And they have an opportunity to do it once again because she didn't even need to use it on that previous round. This may go to overtime thanks to this.
Last round of regulation, as you said. And right at the door, Corrupt has to be big and just gets attacked by SRG. They synchronized well, but also Misu be finding trouble, but Noya heads a different direction, tries to re-clear through mid. Misu gets a heads up. Numbers are even. Hunter's Fury. YFPX could be trying to continue this win streak. They have 4 in a row. And they're trying to go for 5 for the big OT, but the spike has been planted. Mel is flash. Has to take a second. This gives chance for YFPX to regroup. Watch their flank. Turret will assess the site. Sarah's in main. She has to watch over SRG within the site. But you never know when YFPX are on the flank. So that's SRG being conditioned. Now through tree, YFPX have a few angles to work with. No util from Scary Shark. Misu with 1 shock dart, maybe to suppress through main. And SRG just have to play for time. Mel and Sarah. Mel isolated. Sarah versus Misu and Melia, the M&M. But who's going to get the L? Sarah just has to play time. Denies the fuse.
Attackers
Rebel clutch. SRG map 1.
A Rebel clutch to finish it off on the side of Sarah.